You know, Presley's death or cause of death, when everybody got to hear it, kind of like shook up a lot of people. Here's a man that was not sick, worked to success. Like we all can remember the first time he graced the South African screen. On the film Tsotsi, that was the first time I saw him. Most people actually saw him, and you saw him in different films and so forth. And then out of nowhere, we saw announcements yesterday that he passed on. And these announcements, you immediately went out. What happened to him? Was there an accident or was it what? And they came back and they said it was natural death, meaning he just went. He just went. Yeah, that is something. Just a small struggle with breathing, and that was it. Yeah, it's a reminder like of how quickly this mortal body, it's so fragile to life. But as we go with every day, we can come to a place of almost forgetting that. We can go for a minute without thinking about that. And it reminded me of something. Y'all know I have a television show that I am a very big fan of. If you've been on this channel for the last 2-3 years, you would have probably seen me make maybe a reference or two from it. A television show by the name of The Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone, not the zombie Twilight, the Twilight of 1960s and 1965 all the way. They had about a couple of seasons of this show, which was written by one of the great television writers, Rod Serling. And he wrote the shows and he enlisted other people that were as talented in writing, in storytelling, fiction and whatnot. But there were some things that they wrote about that you were like, this is like the topics were so heavy. And in one of the TV episodes, they tackle a story of a person who was dealing with this difficulty of mortality, like dealing with the difficulty of mortality. The story of Walter Bertiker. It's called The Escape Clause. I think it's in season 1, episode 6, if I'm not wrong. Walter Bertiker here, as you see him, standing with this figure, which offers him comfort, basically, to get through life. You don't have to face the difficulties. Walter Bertiker is an issue with mortality. He hates that he gets sick. He hates that he has to be sick. He hates that his life is so short-lived. Like he hates all these things. A hypochondriac, I think that's what you call him. And so at the end of it, he's assured that, you know what, you do not have to fear all these things. You'll be given life beyond what you're thinking. It brings this confidence in him that makes him to go out and live wild. Okay? So in this episode, it just shows you that how far can a person go when they're made to face their reality, or when they're made to face mortality. The fact that this thing can easily, snap of a finger, we're out of here. The man was fine. Like you listen to the family speaking about, they were like, we were with him. He was okay. But then the next thing, you're getting news like that. It's just a very, it's a reality check. You could kind of like call it that. Now, in that episode that I'm talking about Walter Bettick, he's given this promise. He faces life now with such confidence. He's going out and he's doing all kinds of things, and nothing can distract him. He's not afraid of nothing. He's not afraid of getting sick. Nothing scares him anymore. But there's a quotation that Rod Serling comes in and says inside that I thought that was wow. I remembered it when I heard the cause of death here. And it says that every man is put on earth condemned to death. Right? It says the time and method of execution is unknown. So meaning we know we are going to die, basically. So when it says that, it can sound harsh, but then what it means when it says we are put on earth condemned to die, it means that's the only thing we all go towards. We all know that. We don't know if we're going to be rich. We don't know if we're going to be successful according to these earthly standards. We don't know any of that. But we know this thing, that we are all condemned to die. Now it says, every man is put on earth condemned to die. Time and method of execution is unknown. Perhaps this is as it should be. In this case, point in case, and then it mentions Walter Bettick, and it talks about his fear of life, his fear of how everyday life is going to be, getting sick, having to deal with the short space in which we live. Basically facing that we are mortal beings that are here, and we know only one thing. We don't know if we're going to have kids. We don't know if we will have the things that we desire. We don't know what lies ahead. We don't know what tomorrow looks like. But we know one thing. One day we will pass. And it kind of brings up verses that are very interesting in my head. Isaiah chapter number 40, for an example, verse number 6 and verse number 8. It says, all flesh is grass. And it says, and all its beauty is like the flower of the field. It says, the grass withers and the flower fades when the breath of the Lord blows on it. Surely the people are grass. The grass withers. So he goes back and he reiterates. And then he says, but the word of the Lord will stand forever. Meaning, if we are holding on to that, if we are holding on to his promise, remember, what was the promise? Everlasting life. If we are holding on to that, that word stands sure into eternity. And that's what you get. That's how fine life is. It's as grass. This is how he puts it. Actually, even if when you go to, I think, another one that kind of like highlights this particular idea, it's Job, chapter number 14, also goes back to that very same thing. It says verse 1 and 2 also. It says he comes forth like a flower and fades away. He flees like the shadow and does not continue. Once it passes, that's it. Speaks about it within that tone. It speaks about it as something that is so fleeting. If you blink, you might miss it. That's how it puts it. And then in other verses, Psalms chapter number 39, 4 and 5, it says, show me, Lord, my life's end and the number of my days, and let me know how fleeting my life is. Meaning, I can take on something. I can take on a task in my life. I'm going to do this. And then I do that and I do that. And at the end of that, I can come to a place where I feel almost empty. Kind of like Alexander the Great. You conquer everything as far as possible. And at the end of it, it all felt empty, fleeting. Mortality now snaps in. But what is it that lives forever? It's his word. So now if I'm holding on to that which goes on to eternity, I have surety in life. But then if I allow myself to get consumed by this, I might forget that. Like the quotation of Rod Serling says in the Twilight, all man is put down on earth, condemned to death. Method of execution or method of his exit out of this earth is unknown. Such as it should be, meaning that can consume our mind if we're sitting there just knowing how we're going to leave this earth. And so we live this life in this hope. But what hope do we live with? Is it hope that fades away? Hope of a career. Someone promised us a job. Someone promised us something nice tomorrow. What hope do we live with? Not to take away from the excitements of tomorrow. No. We're not taking away from that. But what hope do we wake up with for tomorrow? Like I said, his passing is one that just kind of like reminds you of all of that. It reminds you, not sickness, nothing. One just wakes up and that's about it. James chapter number 4, verse number 14 puts it in this way. He says, yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. He says, what is your life? For you are but mist. It appears yet for a little time, and then it vanishes. See, that awareness of our mortality will tell us, why did God make this life this way? Because remember, in the garden we fell. So because we fell in the garden, death in a way keeps us from having to live in this misery forever. Because the Bible speaks about a new heaven and a new earth being created. And so therefore, death isn't looked at. We shouldn't see death only with that final sight, basically. Because God doesn't want us to be in this type of a reality for eternity. Things down here are very sorrowful. You can be happy in the morning and in the evening you're mourning. You could be celebrating in the morning, you could be laughing, and in the evening we are sending you flowers. Life here is very fleeting, as the verse puts it. Condolences to the family, Scriptural Show, daily Christian commentary videos. Let's not get taken by this life, but let us continuously be in remembrance of He who is our Maker and to whom we go to answer to. Sriki, have a blessed day.